Alright guys, today we have something pretty cool. We have a Monster Energy Supercross 6. We got it early. Thank you to Milestone for letting us check out the early build and just see what it's about, get some first impressions from it, and go from there. But that's what this video is going to be, first impressions and just having a little bit of time in the game. Now I do want to say before we jump into the main part of the video that they did say that it is somewhat of a work in progress. No, the physics and stuff probably won't change, but the AI needs to be fixed a bit. There's some lighting issues and there isn't rhythm racing and stuff like that. So few things that should be fixed before day one, but let's jump into it and check it out. Okay, so here we have it, Monster Energy Supercross 6. What I want to do in this video is show you some different tracks, a few different pro riders, but mostly what I want to do is show you or talk about the core gameplay, the physics, the in-air physics, the ground physics, the tracks, and some of the changes and adjustments they made that were for the better or worse. But that's what I want to cover here, and it's going to kind of be all over the place, and I do want to kind of talk about it from the point of view as if you have played a Supercross game before, because there has been obviously 6 different versions of the game, or if you have never played a Supercross game. I assume most of you here probably watching have played a game, but maybe some of you haven't. So what I want to start with is the in-air physics. The in-air physics are very similar to how they have been since the beginning. You have the push the sticks together, pull it apart whip, where you push the sticks together or you pull them apart, it'll whip the bike left or right, and then you bring them back together to bring the whip back together. It is the same. It has been that way since the beginning. That's kind of Milestone's calling card. It isn't my favorite, but it is the same in this game. They did adjust it a little bit to where I feel like it looks better when it goes out, but when you bring it back, I try my best to make it look halfway decent, but there was many times when I was trying to bring it back and it just looked weird. It felt kind of weird. It looked a bit weird. It wasn't my favorite. It isn't my favorite mechanic in the game, but it's what they like to do, so I'm not surprised it still is that way. Now you do have freedom of the bike and rider in the air aside from the stick whip. You can move the bike and rider left or right or up or down or do a backflip and kind of manipulate the rider in the air with free physics, but it is a bit deceiving because it still isn't free physics. It isn't what we want when we ask for that. I feel like for Milestone to really make that leap forward in progression and progressing their games, they have to give us full free physics and get rid of the push the sticks together, pull it apart whip. I've been saying it for a while, but they didn't this year. So as far as that goes, it is very similar. You still do have a preload. You have the seat bounce, like lean the sticks back and then the right stick back and forward to get a preload. It is very similar. They started kind of doing that in Supercross 3, and they've kept it through Supercross 6 now. So that's kind of how the I guess the in-air physics are. The ground physics, it's kind of weird because in my opinion, I feel like it does feel like they are a bit better, but if you put on the advanced pro physics, it was easy to crash. It felt like it was easier to crash in the corner trying to turn than it has been in the past. So that is something to keep in mind if you do play on the advanced pro physics, which we do usually, but it did feel like it was easier to crash in the corners. Now, that was on the Anaheim tracks, and maybe it isn't that way for every track, but I had very minimal time in the game when I was trying to do this. I was on time constraints. I didn't have the game for, I had the game for I don't know how many days, and then that was it. I didn't get the chance to keep playing it. So, yeah, with the minimal time in the game, that's kind of how the physics felt. Now, the reason I show you Foxborough here is because the tracks were really well done in my opinion this year. The scaling felt great. The tracks were really fun. With the small adjustments to the physics, they felt good. You can see there's a bunch of inside ruts that you can take. Not ruts really, but inside berms. They kind of did the same thing they did with MXGP 2021. They added the inside berms, and while it might not be terrain deformation and working ruts that we asked for, it is fun. It is very fun. Those ruts are very fun to take. Those berms, I guess, are very fun to take, and they work really well. The way the cornering ground physics work. You can really get into the outside berm or inside berm, and it kind of holds you, and you can round that baby out and jump into the next rhythm section. You take the inside, instead of using third on the outside, you take second and then upshift to third and take basically the same rhythm or different rhythm. Most of the rhythm sections felt like they had at least 2 different ways you could take them, but going back to the inside berms, inside berms, they were very fun to take, and it made the game a lot more fun. I know it's a minimal minor change, but it made the game really fun. Here at Seattle, I was trying to take them. Now, I did get better, and I do have more videos to show you, and I do take those inside ruts more often, and I did get better at it. And if you're trying to turn fast lap times, you definitely need to take those inside berms. It is a decent amount faster, it really is. But the scalings of the tracks were really good. They were really fun. The designs were really good. They did a good job with the tracks. But the reason I showed you Foxborough, I know we're in Seattle now, but the reason I showed you Foxborough is because there were a few tracks. If you got Foxborough down good, it worked great. It was very fun and satisfying to play that track. But the scaling of it, the way they had the jumps kind of small and kind of rolled off, if you messed up in a rhythm section, that track and maybe a couple others, you kind of could turn it into big whoops. We've seen that before, and it kind of applies to a few tracks in this game. Now, I'm not really criticizing the tracks because I like them, but there were a few tracks that were that way, where you could turn it into big whoops, and that's unfortunate. Now, as far as if you're wondering, is there the whip turn glitch or the wheelie glitch, is that all in the game still? I don't know. I've never been very good at it. I couldn't get the whip turn glitch to work as good as it has in the past, but it probably is still there considering the physics are very similar. The wheelie glitch, never was good at it. Don't know. I have no idea. If I had to guess, it probably is, but I don't know. But overall, how do I feel about the game? It's fun. Yes, the game is similar to 4 and 5. If you have played a Supercross game, especially Supercross 4 and 5, no, you're probably not going to want to pick this game up. That being said, I do feel like this is the better version of Supercross out of 4, 5, and 6. I would say this is the best one, the more fun one to play. Minimal adjustments and tweaks to the game, but they were good adjustments and tweaks to the game. Now, here we have Ken Roxon. You will see this. I'm not really sure why, but they kind of changed the way the turning animation is. Most of the time when he sticks his leg out, it looks pretty good. But if you really lean him, he sticks his leg out in such a weird way. It doesn't look right. And I know it's just a visual thing, but it is a bit weird. I don't know what's up with that, but it doesn't affect the gameplay, but it's just kind of weird. In my opinion, it is a bit weird. But back to what I was saying or trying to say or going to say, is this is just the core gameplay, the physics and the core gameplay. It is fun to play. It was the most fun to play out of the last 2 Supercross games, 3 if you count this one. Supercross 1 and 3 were my favorite of all time, and I'm not saying that this one tops those 2, but it definitely, in my opinion, is superior to 4 and 5. Maybe even 2, but I'm not sure. As far as the bike sounds, I know I'm talking over it, but the bike sounds of the 450s felt like they were closer to each other than they have been in the past. Usually they try to give each bike like a very specific sound, and they do in this game too, but it wasn't quite as noticeable. I mean, the sounds are basically the same, and the physics and model, the mechanics of the game is very similar, and so you can say copy and paste, and I'm not going to argue with you. But they did make some good changes and adjustments and additions to the game. They did. Minor. Oh yeah, minor. Minor for sure. I won't say it wasn't minor. It's not like they overhauled the game and it's crazy different like Supercross 3. They did a lot of work to that game to change it from 1 and 2. No, we're not talking about that. But I don't know. I would say I guess this reminds me a little bit more of Supercross 3 than anything. And I know if you haven't played that, I said I was going to do some comparison, but I like 3, and it might be my favorite, and it reminded me of that. The inside ruts or berms are really fun to take. The rhythm sections have multiple different lines on them, and again, coming back to the tracks were scaled really fun. They were really fun to play. They really were, but no, I mean, if you bought Supercross 4 and 5, you're probably going to pass on it, and that's fine. I'm not telling you to buy it. I'm not saying it's the best game ever. I'm just trying to hit that point home because people will probably say, he was paid to do this. No, I was not paid to do this. I'm grateful for Milestone allowing us early access and trying the game early, and to show you there was no rules or rhyme or anything about how I had to play it or what I could play or how I had to say anything. They just said, here's the game. You can show it to your community early, and that's it. So this is 100% how I feel, 100% honest. I'm not lying to you. Yes, there's things to criticize. There's other parts of the game that, oh yeah, we have plenty to criticize. But if I'm just talking about the core gameplay, the core mechanics, the physics, that stuff, it is very similar, but it still is pretty fun. It was fun, and in my opinion, the best out of Supercross 4, 5, and 6, if I'm comparing it to that. And if you haven't played a Supercross game ever, for sure, I think it's worth trying this one. Definitely over 4 and 5, because in my opinion, it is superior. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Probably forgot some stuff. I don't know. I have a limited time to get gameplay and show you and whatever, but I try my best. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel. How do you feel about it? What do you think about it? Yes, there is some copy and paste, but there was some good changes and adjustments and additions. I will keep saying that. But you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support on the channel lately. It really does mean a lot. And until the next video, take it easy.